Hi, I'm here today to introduce you to close-up photography, otherwise known as macro photography. So what we're going to introduce you to today is different ways of letting your digital SLR get closer to things. So first thing we're going to look at is the least expensive option, and these are a set of close-up filters. So just like normal ordinary protection filters and polarizing filters, you just screw them on the front of your lens. They come in sizes appropriate to that. So for example, if you've got one of these Canon kit lenses, the 18 to 55s, you'll need a set of filters that are 58mm in diameter. Now, when you buy a set of these, they come in different strengths. So for example, this set I've got here comes as a +1, +2 and a +4. The +4 is the strongest of those. Now, if we, for example, with this lens, if I set it to 55mm and I focus as close as I can get down to this distance just here, which is quite close for a standard lens. But, for example, if I stick on my +4 close-up filter, I'll show you what happens. So all we do is screw that on the front like so. And now, at my minimum focusing distance, I am now down to there. So I can now get much closer than I could before. I can also stack these filters together. So if I was to put all three of these filters on, it would allow me to get extremely close. Now I'm down to there. So stack those together and I'm much closer again. So the closest you can get is by stacking them together. The catch with stacking these filters together is that it doesn't improve the sharpness of the overall image. So you're adding glass to your lens and you're not necessarily improving the quality of the lens you've got. You're just allowing it to focus closer. You'll also find that you'll get a little bit of color aberration or fringing around the edges of things. So overall, optically, they're not the perfect thing, but they do give you the ability to focus close, and they can produce really nice results. We've seen some really good results done on these, and they're a great way for you to try macro photography without spending a lot of money. So the second option in our list is to go to a set of extension tubes. Now, extension tubes are just like what they sound like. They're a tube, no glass in the middle there. So it's something that you fit in between the lens and the body. So you take your lens off, you attach this in between, and you can attach, often they come as a set of three, and you can attach all three of them at once if you want to. The more you attach, the closer you can get. So now with those three tubes on, I can now get down to almost on top of my subject. So that's significantly closer than I was getting with my close-up filters. Now the catch with these is that when you're looking down a long tube, you're letting in less light than when you're looking down a short tube. So just like looking down the tube of the vacuum cleaner, the longer it is, the less light you can see at the end. So when we stack a whole set of tubes in between the body and the lens like that, it's getting darker. There's less light reaching our sensor inside our camera. So the shutter speeds that your camera is going to have to use to give correct exposure are going to be longer. So that involves me in using a tripod essentially. It's very, very difficult to hand hold with a set of these. And you're going to have a really good sturdy tripod, which I'd recommend for close-up work anyway. The neat thing about them versus tubes is that they aren't adding any glass, so the quality of your existing lens is maintained. You can also use them in conjunction with any of the lenses that you have because the mount on the back is the same. So great for getting up close. They maintain the quality of your existing lens, which if you're happy with that, you're going to be happy with those. The next thing on our list is optically the best option, and that is a macro lens. So you take your existing lens off and you put one of these on. Now these come in different flavors. For example, this is the Sony Alpha 900 and I've got a couple of their options here. One's called a 50mm 2.8 macro, and the other one I have here is a 100mm 2.8 macro. Now both these lenses will go down to a maximum magnification of what they call 1:1. Now 1:1 means you can take a photograph of something that is life-size, or it's basically saying that you can take a photograph of something that's the same size as the sensor inside the camera. In this particular instance, this is a full frame camera, which means I can take a photograph of something that's 24mm by 36mm. If you've got a sensor that's an APS-C size, like for instance this little Canon here, you can actually take a photograph of something slightly smaller. Now, why would you buy a 50mm, or why would you spend a little bit more and buy a 100mm? The key difference between these two lenses is how close you have to be for that magnification. So, with the 50mm, it says the minimum focusing distance is 20 centimeters. So that means at maximum magnification, I am this far away. When I put the 100mm on, the minimum focusing distance for this lens, which gives me the same magnification as it does for the other lens, is 35 centimeters. So I'll rack that up, and now we are this far away and the size of the picture is the same. So the key difference there is that my working distance is improved, so I'm further away to take the same photograph. The advantage with this is if you're in a situation where you're blocking the light, for instance you're casting a shadow over your subject, it's really good if you can get a little bit further away so you don't do that. The other thing is if you're taking photographs of bugs or live objects or live subjects, your working distance is improved, so you're less likely to scare them away. The key to remember when they quote these 35 centimeter minimum focusing distance terms is that they measure it not from the front of the lens but from the sensor inside the camera to your subject. So it is not quite as much room as you might expect from what they state on the lens. One of the new things that's come about just recently, in some of the brands, they've updated their macro lenses and they now make internal focusing models. So rather than a lens like this, that when you're focusing it changes in length, some of the new Canon and Nikon ones now focus internally, so when you get up closer it doesn't change the length of the lens, which gives you just a little bit more working room again, which is quite nice. So to recap, we've got 3 different ways to get closer. We can use a set of close-up filters, which will allow us to get really close, and they're relatively inexpensive. We can go to a set of extension tubes, and these fit between the body and the lens, and these also let us get very close, but they don't let as much light in. And optically the best solution is to buy one of these macro lenses. So if you get really into it, these are a great way to go. They also happen to double as a great portrait lens, so if you like doing a bit of portrait photography, they're fantastic for that as well. Nice and fast aperture, so you can get that shallow depth of field look that people like. So that's it from me. Have fun out there.